Hello Year 6, welcome to your maths video for Wednesday. You all did an absolutely brilliant job yesterday on your reflecting and translating work, so well done with that. So I think we're secure in that area now and we're going to move on to something new, an area that we've not really covered yet, percentages. Okay, so your learning question for today is, can I find the percentages of amounts? Pages 34 and 35. Okay, make sure you watch the video carefully though, because we might not do all of the questions. Okay, so before we move on to the work in our book, I want to just go over with you how to find the basic percentages of amounts. And then I've got a little starter for you. So these are likely to be ones that you're going to need today. So if you're finding 1% of a number, you need to divide it by 100. Okay? You can then use that to help you find 2%, 3%, 4%. Okay, so if you find 1%, divide it by 100. Once you've done that, if you want to find 3%, you times it by 3. Okay, for finding 10%, then we know we do this one quite often. We divide it by 10, don't we? If we want to find 5%, then we'd first find 10% and then divide it by 2. Okay, you can either do it that way, or you could find 1% and multiply it by 5. It's up to you. But I personally would find 10%, just divide it by 10 and then half it, divide it by 2. Okay, you're finding 20% then. You know how to find 10%. Okay, so find 10% first, and then because it's a multiple of 10, all we've got to do is multiply it by 2. Okay, so find 10%, multiply it by 2. 80% then, same rule. It's still a multiple of 10, so find 10%, multiply it by 8. Okay, and you can apply that to any multiple of 10. Find 10% and then multiply it by whatever you need. 25% then, okay, you can either, it's up to you, think about how many 25s go into 100. That's 4, so you can divide it by 4 if you want to. Or you can half it and half it again. It's up to you. Same answer. 50% then is the same as half, isn't it? So you just need to find half. So divide your number by 2. 75% then, you could divide it by 4 and times it by 3. There's a couple of different ways you could do this one. You could find 50%, find 25% and add them together. So 50% is half, isn't it? And then add 25%. Or like I said, you could divide it by 4 to find 25% and multiply it by 3. Because 75% is the same as 3/4, isn't it? And 25% is 1/4. 100% then is just the number you started with. That's your original number. So if you were finding 100% of 70, your answer would be 70. Okay? So you're going to have to apply some of that in your work for today. So you might want to pause the video and make some notes. That's absolutely fine. Or you can always rewind. And then I want you to have a look at this percentage spider. So I'm going to send out the link with your video link for today. When you press on the link, it will come up like this with a spider, and you've got a number in the middle, and then you've got some percentages around the edge. Okay, now your starter challenge today is I want you to do just one of these because there's quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Okay, so one is enough. You can do more if you want to, if you're up for the challenge. So you've got your number in the middle and you've got to find all of these different percentages of that number. So for example, this first one is 690. Okay, 100% then is the number's not going to change, is it? 690 still. 50% then, remember we find half. So you could half 600, half 90. So half of 600 would be 300. Half of 90 would be 45. So my answer would be 345. 25% then, I can just half this, can't I? It's half of 50%, or you can divide it by 4. If you want to put it in bus stop method, that's fine. Half of 300 is 150. Half of 40 is 20. Half of 5 is 2.5. So 150, 170, 172.5. Okay. 1% then, remember we divide it by 100. So dividing it by 10 would be 69. So it would be 6.9. Yeah? Dividing it by 15% then, we didn't go over this one, but we did go over 10% and 5%. So find 10%, find 5% and add them together. So 10% of 690 would equal 69. 5% would be, half of 60 is 30, half of 9 would be 4.5, so it would be 34.5, and then to find your answer, you just add those two together. Okay, so that's your challenge. Follow the link on Marvellous Me, see what number you get, and then have a go. You can even draw the spider if you want to, and then have a go at answering the percentages for that number. Okay, so don't forget to take a quick picture of it for me and send it in. The scarier the spider, the better. Okay, so that's your starter activity for today. Let's have a look at some of your questions. So turn to page 34 in your stretch book. Okay, your first question then says 2 different stores are having a sale on the same pair of trainers. Okay, so you've got Walk a Lot, which is the name of the store, and Hike by Numbers, which is the name of the other store. Okay, this pair is £64 and it says 25% off the marked price. And this pair are £90 and it says 45% off. Okay, so it says which shop is selling the trainers for a cheaper price? So before you can work out your answer, you're going to have to do a little bit of working out. So you're going to have to work out how much these ones are after you've taken the 25% off, and work out how much these are after you've taken the 45% off. You've got to do your percentage and then a subtraction. Okay, so you've got 64 in the first one, and you want 25%. Okay, so remember, to find 25%, you can either divide it by 4 or you can half it and half it again. So half of 60 is 30, half of 4 is 2. So 50% would be 32. Okay, but I want to half that again because I want 25%. So half of 30 is 15, half of 2 is 1. So 25% would be 16. Okay, but that's not what we want to know. We want to know what the new price is. So you then are going to have to do 64 take away 16. Okay, and that will tell you how much these ones are. Okay, so you do that. Then you need to do 45% of 90. Okay, if I was you for that one, I'd find 40%, I'd find 5%, and I'd add them together. Okay, so remember, to find 40%, you can find 10% and multiply it by 4. Okay, so you have a go at that one, and then your answer is which shop is selling the trainers. So your answer is either going to be Walk a Lot or Hike by Numbers. Okay, so you have a go and finish that question off. Question 2 then on page 34 is quite a long question, but stick with me because it's not actually difficult maths, it's just the way it's worded. So question 2 says, Harry has 600 blackberries. He went on a walk and picked 25% more. When he got home, he used 10% of the blackberries in a pie. He gave his neighbour 4% of the remaining blackberries. How many blackberries did Harry give his neighbour? Okay, so we've got to do this in stages. So he started with 600 blackberries, but then he went and picked 25% more. So we first need to find 25% of 600 and add it on. So remember, half it and half it again. So half of 600 is 300, half of 300 is 150. I'm just going to make a note there. So he picked 150 more. So 600 add 150 is 750. So he's now got, he started with 750 blackberries. Okay. When he got home, he used 10% of the blackberries in a pie. So you need to find 10% of 750. Okay, so 10%, remember we divide by 10, so 750 divided by 10 is 75. So we use 75 blackberries in a pie. So we now need to work out how much we've got. So we did have 750, we've used 75 of them now. So let's take that away. So 0 take away 5 you can't do, let's borrow. 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 7 you can't do. 14 take away 7 is 7. 6 take away nothing is 6. So he's got 675 blackberries. Okay. He gave his neighbour 4% of the remaining blackberries. So you're going to have to find 4% of this. So you've got 675 and we need 4%. Remember, to find 4%, we could find 1% first and then times it by 4. Okay, so remember, to find 1%, we divide it by 100. So dividing it by 10, the decimal would go here. Dividing it by 100, the decimal would go there. So 1% would be 6.75. But we want 4%. So to get your answer, you need to do 6.75 times 4. Okay? And that will give you your answer. You have a go and work that one out. Then, so we're all doing page 34. We're all doing those questions. Page 35, the questions are quite tricky. So I'm going to give you a choice. I either want you to carry on and challenge yourself and have a go at page 35. I am going to go through them in a minute. Or do these ones. Okay. So I've got another 2 on here for you instead. So this first one, if you're choosing to do these ones, says in year 6 there are 60 children. 25% of them like chocolate and 75% of them like sweets. How many more children like sweets than chocolate? So for this one, you need to work out 25% of 60 and you need to work out 75% of 60. Okay, and then you need to work out the difference between your 2 answers and that will give you your answer. Okay, your next one then, once you've done that one, Hassan scores 40 out of 80 in a test. Kate scores 40% in the same test. Who has the higher score, Hassan or Kate? Explain how you know. Okay, so 40 out of 80 then. What do you know about 40 and 80? You double 40, you get 80. So Hassan has got 50%, hasn't he? Because 40 is half of 80. Okay, so who has got the highest score? So we know it's out of 80. So work out what 40% of 80 is. Because we want the highest score, not the highest percentage. Okay, so you need to work out what Kate's score is. So find 10% of 80 and multiply it by 4, and that will give you Kate's score. And then you need to explain your answer. Okay, so you need to say, I know, sorry, whoever's got the highest score, because 40% of 80 is this, or because 40 out of 80 is 50%. Okay, so just make sure you explain your answer. So that's if you're choosing to do those questions. if you're choosing to carry on and have a go at page 35 because you're feeling like you want to challenge yourself, I'm going to give you a few hints. So, question 3 says, Phil put some money in his bank account in January. His bank balance went up in value by 10% in February and down by 3% in March. Phil says this means he has 10% take away 3%, which equals 7% more money in his account at the end of March than in January. Give an example to show Phil is wrong. Okay, so it might sound really confusing, but I think most of you will be able to have a good go at this. So let's say he started with £100. Okay, that's what we're going to start with. So if it went up in value by 10% in February, let's add on 10%. So 10% of 100 would be 10. So 100 add 10 would be £110. So by the end of February, he's got £110. But then it went down by 3% in March. So let's find, so 1% of 110 would be £1.10. Okay, so that's 1%. £1.10 times 3 would be £3.30. So it's gone down by £3.30. So we now need to do, let's get a bit of space, 110 pounds take away £3.30. Okay, and that's how much, when you've worked that out, that's how much he ends with in March. Okay. Right, now let's see if it works. So Phil says this means he has 10% take away 3%. So, okay, so he's saying that he's got 7% more money in his account at the end of March. So if he started with £100, 7% of 100, so 1% would be £1, wasn't it? 100 divided by 100 is £1. Times it by 7 is £7. So 100 add 7 is £107. Okay, so that's how, he's saying that that's how much he's definitely going to have. But is that the answer you got here? It's not going to be, is it? So your answer here will explain why he is wrong. Okay, so you can say he is wrong because if he starts with £100, he would end March with this amount. Okay, and it's not 107, so that shows he's wrong. Okay, I told you it was challenging. Question 4 then says James is playing a board game and has landed on a lucky dip square. He has 2 options to win some money. If he doesn't win, he loses his stake. Okay, let's have a look then. So option 1, he's going to put £80 in. That's how much money he's putting down. If he wins, he gets his stake back and he gets £100 of his, 100% of his stake. So he gets another £80. Option 2 then, he puts £100 down, and if he wins, he gets his stake and 60% of that. So he gets another 60% of £100. Which option should James choose? Explain your answer. So he gets £80 here and he gets 100% of that. So he gets another 80. Okay, so for this one, he gets 80 add 80, which is £160 if he wins. Okay, so that's if he wins. If he wins this one, he gets the £100 that he put in, and he gets 60% of that again. So 10% of 100 is 10. 10 times 6 is 60. So he gets 100 add 60, so he gets 160. So in both options, if he wins the same amount. Okay, so he gets 160 in both, but he might not win, mightn't he? So let's have a look what would happen if he loses. So if he loses, he would just lose £80. He'd lose this, yeah? However, if he loses this one, he'd lose £100, wouldn't he? Because he put more money down for this one. So have a think, which option would be better? The one where he loses less. So you go for that. Okay, so have a go at that one. And then your final challenge question says you've been given £1,000 and want to try to make the most money at the end of 5 days. There are 2 ways to make money. Option 1, add 20% of £1,000 every day. Or option 2, on the first day add 10% of £1,000, on the second day add 12%, on the third day add 14%, and so on. So it's going up in 2%. Which option is best? How many days is it before the other option is best? Okay, so if I was you, I would write it out. So draw yourself a little table. So you've got 5 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got £1,000. And then I'd go along and add on the 20% each day for option 1. So add it on and see what you would get each day. Okay, and then do the same for question option 2. Draw yourself a table, add 10% the first day, add 12% the second day, and so on, and then see which option is best. And then, how many days is it before the other option is best? So when will it overtake? Okay, so have a go, try your best at those. Remember, we're all doing page 34. Some of you can have a go at the questions I popped on the board once you've done your questions on 34. If you're feeling like a challenge, have a go at those on page 35. Okay, I look forward to seeing all of your brilliant percentage work on the email today. Don't forget to take a quick picture of the spider when you've had a go at that. I look forward to seeing it, and I will see you all tomorrow.